We're here with Ihsahn today, a long time friend, long time, almost like a co-worker. It feels like we've been working together
For sure,
with guitars for so long now. It's been a decade.
A decade already.
Decade already, and yeah, you've been here for the past 2 days recording some cool demo videos, which are already out now or will be out soon, and we've been talking for years now. Every time we're on the phone, we're talking about, hey, we should do a video where we just talk about your guitars, and we talk about all the guitars we did together. We talk about your collection, the ideas behind them, and tell that story.
Yeah, because I mean, some of these things are subtle, but as you know from having talked for hours about this, it's important for me, the stuff. So I think this is a great idea, and I look really forward to sharing some of the ideas and stuff that we've had over the years.
Likewise, because people obviously just see you play your guitars on stage or in videos, and they're like, that's a cool looking guitar, but almost all builds that we did together, they had a full concept phase and like countless back and forwards and ideas. So we thought it would be really cool to talk about that today. And let's just start at the absolute beginning, because I think it was 2015 when we first got introduced to each other.
Yeah, by Mark Holcomb.
Mark Holcomb from Periphery. And I think it's probably best if you tell him, because you reached out to him.
No, we were just talking guitar as you do.
Yeah.
Of course. Being nerds as we are. And he said, like, have you heard of this brand Aristides? And he was starting to talk about this, and I was like, wow, that's intriguing. I've always been drawn to pushing the boundaries, and so I got very intrigued. But of course, from having seen other examples of non-wooden guitars before, like, it seems like a good idea, but like, I hadn't seen a successful version. But I was intrigued because he spoke very highly of you guys, and also told me a bit, of his impression of the company and everything. And that was the start of it. And I think by the first conversation, I think we understood we came from a very similar place. I think we understood each other very well.
Yeah, I remember it still. Mark sent an email to me. It was like, hey, is it okay if I introduce you to Ihsahn? He's super excited about the guitars and would love to talk to you. So I think shortly after that, we got an intro email together, and we started talking, and it was like almost like pen pals. It was like long letters we were sending back and forth, and
that was great. And long story short, I mean, you sent me the 080.
Yeah, so that's the first guitar, because I remember
to try out, and you said like no strings attached.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
No.
No, but to try out, and just for real feedback and everything. And I did play 8-string guitars before. That's was a new thing for me still, but like very inspirational. But quite honestly, and I've been very fortunate to play some really nice instruments. But I mean, I've told you this many times, but and I think everybody and most of the people watching here probably did play an Aristides, and it's a different thing. So just like for an 8-string in particular, it's very obvious because they can be very clunky and they're big, and it's heavy machinery in a sense. So when you feel like you can actually do the stuff that you would do on a more regular guitar on an 8-string, it just like immediately, and the sound and everything, it was the ergonomics. I was very taken by that. So
yeah, I still like remember pretty much all of it. It's been like 10 years ago, but I remember that we got that one because I think we had a body made already, and we could get it to you relatively fast. And because of the time wise, because I think you had a show as well in London you were playing.
Yep, I brought it there.
And there was a reason for us, okay, we need to finish it fast, so we went with a pretty simple finish back then. And because we already had a guitar built that was going to be a demo model, we could have could made it yours. And it's Ivory Pro, and it was gold hardware with Seymour Duncan pickups.
Yep.
I didn't even
remember
check this before the call. The talk actually. So no, it was that one, and we got it ready pretty fast and just in time for the show, I believe.
Yep.
And I remember the first thing that really impressed me, or was like wow, was when you sent me an email back when you just had it, and you weren't like just a message like, hey, this is awesome, thank you so much, but you sent us like a 2-page write-up going through all the details of the guitar and how you felt about it. And that was, I remember that moment when I got that email and I read it quickly and immediately screamed upstairs. Back then in the factory, the office was downstairs in the old place, and the guys were upstairs, and I shouted and got 30 and tin, like guys like, you have to read this, or I printed it out and ran upstairs. I don't remember.
Wow, I didn't know this.
Yeah, it was like, for us it was huge, like we got, because the feedback was, it was so genuine, and so I could read your excitement like through.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel obliged to, when you get the privilege of trying out a high-end instrument as it is,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, thanks, it doesn't cut it, and I really, I mean, in my position, I've been working with some companies in the past, and some I still work with, but I mean, to me, it's always been super important because I'm a bit of a nerd on gear and stuff like that. I'm very interested, and then this, get stuff for free kind of deal, and then like more of corporate unpersonal thing was never my thing. It's always been, if I could be involved in some way and actually learn for myself, you get in, because I'm not a luthier, I'm not building amps or anything, but I'm super excited about new stuff and learning, and where there's actually dialogue. Yeah. So I felt, when I got that, of course I did get all these impressions from the instruments, and I felt that it was natural to be as specific in my feedback as possible.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it
and
resonated.
you were no, it was amazing. it was great to read for us, because it was really, really positive. You were loving the instrument, and
absolutely,
that was huge for us. And it's been 10 years ago, and back 10 years ago, we definitely weren't in the position where we're now. Like in terms of how the size of the company, and
we're still a rather new company.
We were still, especially in the modern metal market, if you could call it that way. We introduced the 070 a year before, 2014 at NAMS, and that went really well, and we had some great people playing them already. Yeah. But yeah, for us that was a huge thing, and we were really excited. And I think shortly after, like, you kind of surprised me where when I saw pictures of you playing at that show in London, on stage immediately, which was weird. Wasn't that like a day after the Bataclan thing in France?
Yeah, it was
super.
Super weird, and
total side road.
Yeah, it's a side road, but still, like a reminder, that why. And it felt, of course, because it's a special thing, because the day after that, and I've also played close to that place in France, closely after. But I mean, at some point, it feels like, of course, another rock show. It feels like super unimportant, but at the same time, the forces that made that happen, that's what they try not to make happen. So it seemed at the same time, it seemed important that we want to be able to go to shows and enjoy ourselves, and it felt even more important to be invested in doing that show. So it was a mixed feelings, but I mean, in the end, the vibe at that show too, like everybody, like just being into it, not even appreciating it more in a sense, from both stage and audience, I think.
It's that long ago too,
Let's talk about happier stuff.
Yeah. So we had the 080, and I remember because you were playing other guitars back then, Ibanez guitars. Amazing guitars. You had a long-lasting relationship, and I also remember that it was never our intention to be like, hey, you need to play Aristides full time or whatever. But yeah, it just. We connected.
And I think we were both very upfront about that. I said I have a very long-lasting relationship with Ibanez. Yeah. They've been good to me. But so I said I'd be happy to try it. I'm always curious, and I'd love to give some feedback and try it out.
Yeah.
But you know, loyalty is also a big thing for me. Like it has to be for real, and I think a lot of people in the industry knows Mike Toft, who used to be the representative for Headless. And he was always super nice. And we met, you know, after this as well. I mean, he's working, and that was the thing that 2 weeks after we had that conversation, I got an email from him saying, "I'm leaving to work for another company."
Yeah.
You know, and then it was the whole situation where, you know, I had that contact point, but I didn't know anyone else in that organization, and then we had kind of built a new communication and with this, and I thought, okay, maybe this is just it's in the line that I also, you know, change course, you know, and I think I couldn't be happier, you know.
Yeah, and I remember that when you I think you emailed me that, and we jumped on a call, I think, and you were like, but yeah, I don't just play 8 string. I have to have a 6 string and a 7 string eventually. And I was like, we're a small company, but we are also super excited to work with you. Just after like we were talking for a couple months, and it was so it felt so right, and I was like, well, this is cool. Let's just go for it. Like as a small company, like it's obviously like small production operation, long lead time, so you really need to push to make stuff like that happen sometimes. But the guys in the shop were all motivated. They were like, yeah, well, we can do this. We'll just push and we'll make it happen, you know. And then we talked about that, like, okay, how can we? What would you need from us? And I thought you were gonna be like, I need 3 7 strings, 3 6 strings, 3 8 strings. You were like, yeah, I would need a 6 and perhaps another 8 string. And maybe a 7 down the road. I was okay, but we can make that happen. I was expecting a lot more, but you were being very humble.
But honestly, I you know me now. I never want to assume anything.
No.
And it also it has to be for real. Mm-hmm. And no, I don't need. And I'm the kind of, I can only bring that many guitars when I'm touring, so to having backups or whatever. And it is. And if I play a 6 string, which is more convenient in the show, but if I have an 8, you know, it's in the same tuning, I can easily, especially with these guitars, I can easily play everything on one guitar. It is just convenient for backup purposes and like comfort to be able to switch and just like, you know, in between songs, tunings and stuff like that. But it's like just also from practical purposes. When I'm traveling, I try to travel light and to make things easy. I don't need to bring, you know, more than I already do. I see a lot of people who have to bring so many guitars, you know, and just like the logistics of that and
the costs too.
Yeah. So I'm very practical in that sense, but also, you know, not assuming that I would, you know, just get a bunch of guitars.
No, but it immediately was like, okay, we felt like we can make this work. Even position we were in back then, you know, small company, no funds, nothing. But we were able to make it work, and just to keep because we both can talk for a long time. And we have our wonderful cameraman Paul over there, and I want to make sure that he doesn't fall asleep. We gave him a glass of whiskey as well, so we'll see what happens. But
the second guitar.
Thank you. The second, I think that was
020.
I think that was one that we had ready for NAMM.
I think
Weren't
so.
they both for NAMM, like both your 020 and the 080s? Did we send them at the same time?
I think you did.
That
more
was
or less at the same time, because I think I was also so psyched about the fan fret 8 string, because I never tried that, but it's just like, this must just be something else.
2 and 3 they're kind of like one chapter, so it's like we're talking late 2015 when you got the 080 November, and then it was like for future shows and stuff that were coming up the next year, we had to get you a 6 string and another 8 string with fan frets. And we were going to NAMM that year to present our guitars, and we had a demo model 020 that we made in a white marble satin finish. with the burnt pickups.
Yeah, the burnt pickups.
Burnt pickups
Yeah.
as well, yeah.
And it's like a marble satin white finish.
White marble satin.
So it looked like snow.
It looked like snow.
Yeah, definitely.
It looked like snow, and it was our O2O. We don't make the O2O anymore. It's an older model. It comes from an older mold when we designed differently, and the O2O is an amazing instrument.
It's a great guitar.
It's a great guitar. It's a short scale, double cut. We're gonna do something similar again like that in the future, probably in a few years. But the producing it was just not practical at all. And design wise, right now we would make some changes with our current philosophy and everything.
But just as a short side story, because down the line, probably by association, I don't know, but Turo from Leprous. Also ended up because he was playing PRS guitars and he tried mine, I think, and everything, and you got in touch, and he ended up getting the exact same one.
Yeah, I think we made two builds at that time because we were testing truss rods.
And he has a different truss rod than
I think
mine.
he has the only. Okay, I should not say this is not an option with Aristides. We tried developing our own truss rod, and I think that one was stainless steel, like own manufactured, and it was great. It was a great truss rod, but it also costed it was way too expensive, so it's impossible to put it in a guitar, and we had to develop it further. But we made two, one with our regular standard truss rod, that's the one you have, and we made the other one which is with Tour still, that has the custom truss rod, I think.
But the funny thing, I've used this as an example when I'm trying to, because when I was playing these instruments and people were curious, but it's
same pickup, same everything.
Yeah, it was everything the same except from the truss rod, and I've used that as an example because I think you had all the details on that, and me and Tor were comparing, and I think we found out that because of the truss rod, the difference between my guitar and his guitar was 0.7 grams. It was just like ridiculously close, and this is I remember I used this as an example when I was telling people about the guitars, how they were molded, and this whole process that the science to this, the precision of this is like we have the same guitar, and it's different 0.7 grams. So
probably in the truss rod.
Yeah, probably in the truss rod. Exactly, and this is we can get back, but this is generally also because people are I wouldn't say skeptical, but it's something new still for a lot of people.
I do have to say, in some cases you're gonna have that, but to be honest, a lot of our guitars it's still handwork, so the molding process is. And I mean that differences in weight, you can have slight differences because our painter paints everything by hand. So if you do the finish 2 times, one is going to be a little bit more paint than the other one. Sanding is done by hand mostly still these days. Some is done by robots, but most of the work is still done by hand. Some people sand slightly different, so you're going to have slight difference. But what you're saying is in general, that's what I always love about our guitars, because when you play one, and you play one with certain specs, and you love it, you're going to order the same thing. It's going to be 99% that. There's always going to be minor differences because they're made by hand. The whole molding process is a process where we laminate in layers, where it's all done by hand. So there's always going to be slight differences, but you're going to get that guitar.
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing. And also in my position now that the nature of our relationship, in the sense that I also play them, and in a sense maybe younger players might be considering that kind of guitar if they see someone they like this music of or something. It has that promotional effect, and for me I know there's a lot of that. You can buy a signature guitar and it looks like the guitar that you saw that on stage, but it's probably not the same guitar. But in this case, if people see me playing one of my guitars and they think, wow, I want one of that, looks great, I want, they will actually get one that is exactly like that. They could pick up my guitar and their own guitar after that, and it's the same thing.
I appreciate it.
And I think just it's something very genuine and honest in that. It's not, it goes beyond, marketing and everything. It's just like it's the real stuff, and I really appreciate that when I'm kind of representing.
Yeah, and I really
something,
appreciate that. I'm trying to not blow our own horn too much. This talk,
it's hard to talk about things like me. Also, like when I'm without being without sounding pretentious.
Yeah.
I'm blowing your own horn, like, but I think it's comforting if someone could, see me playing it. Oh, I want, like, I know the feeling because I'm a music fan,
Yeah.
And then it feels good for me that if people go and buy that guitar, they will actually get something that's as good as my guitar.
That's what we try to do. Like we just try to do whatever we can to make each guitar that leaves the shop the best guitar it can be. That's just in our nature. That's what we try to do. I'm not saying we don't make mistakes because it's all done by people and.
No, but also the philosophy. I know for a fact that of course I'm super privileged the way we communicate and the relation that we have, and also I'm just as excited about this as everybody else, getting the pictures of the process and everything, but also knowing that everybody will get pictures and a follow up.
We try. Again, our customers, we have a community of our community is amazing. We have so many great people in there that we have Facebook community pages and stuff. And every day I wake up in the morning, and a lot of them are in the US, and I see some silly post or whatever, someone doing something in there, and it's always amazing. They're incredibly supportive.
I'm on there, the Arium addicts and everything, and the mutual excitement of seeing someone else's yellow sheet with their specs, and
cool.
It's really cool.
No, it's cool, and we got a bit bigger, so we have more orders. So but we still try to make sure that we again, our customers pay a lot of money for our guitars. They have to wait a long time. Unfortunately, we try to build them as fast as we can, but hey, we have a lot, so it takes time, and we always want to make sure the guitars meet our quality standards, and. So we always try to take care of our customers in the best way possible. Like we try to be on our emails on weekends, on nights, and of course there are times when we are really asleep, when it's hard to do it. But we try to be on top of things as much as we can with our small team. But it also makes our work so much more fun because we have so many great friendships that we have with people who started buying a guitar from us a couple of years ago. Giving us, trusting us with the build, and now those are guys that whenever I see them at NAMM, we always have dinners with all the community guys, but they visit the shop. We have factory events. It's just amazing to have that community around the guitars, So
absolutely, and just coming into the shop and meeting everybody, this is the guy who actually, sanded down your guitar.
Cool.
It's personal and also.
But it's the same for the guys at the shop, It's so awesome to meet our.
And we talked about this yesterday when we had the tour of the new place. I hadn't seen the new factory, and we walked past.
New factory is 7 years old, but that's how long it was.
Yeah.
Since you were near the factory, we met in Holland, but it was different places. For sure.
But walking past all these different builds in all stages of progress, and just taking in that behind every guitar there's someone waiting, and it's their dream guitar that you're building. It's pretty cool.
It's awesome. And it's really good for me too, because you're working 24/7 just to make sure that all the guitars go out, and that they get to people and people are happy with them. So sometimes you forget, you don't forget it, but sometimes you're, of course, it's super special when you see a rack of nearly finished guitars, or 50 or 60 of them at assembly close to being finished. It's just really.
And you have to remind yourself, I guess, because everything becomes habit in some way. It's like touring. And there's boring parts. There's a lot of waiting and everything. But sometimes you just have to remind yourself and just pinch yourself, these people came out, they made the effort. They bought the ticket. They came out to hear these songs, and to see you're on the other side of the world, So sometimes you have to remind yourself that there's something really passionate and cool with the whole thing.
Yeah, always.
That made you do it in the first place. You know.
Hey, we're gonna go to build 3.
Which was the first 08
OS. Yeah,
Yes.
that was like we introduced the 080 in the last time we went to Frankfurter Musikmesse, which was a huge show in Europe, and we immediately started developing our second 8-string, which was the 080S, our first ever multi-scale guitar, with our own slanted bobbins for the pickups, slanted fretboards, slanted hip shot bridges specifically made for us, and that was quite a big project for us. Yeah, we made 2 for NAMM show, an aqua green one, which is currently still being toured. I think it was on tour with Steven from Chelsea Grin for a long time. He used it as a backup. But yeah, so that one went all over the world. Sometimes we get it back and we send it out elsewhere. It's always being
amazing.
used. So that's
Because
really
I remember getting the pictures of that one.
Yeah, you got
and
the pick.
The chameleon. It was number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
And I got the pick.
Yeah, you picked number 2.
Yeah.
The purple red chameleon.
Yes.
Which was a finish we originally did for the first time for Mark Holcomb.
Yeah.
Because
Which
we
is
made
very cool.
his,
That's very
his
cool.
string for him back then. So full circle.
Full circle. No, but-
And we got that out to NAMM first, which is I think also the place where Paul tried that guitar for the first time, because
Probably
you
before.
ordered, like, so I'm talking to Paul who's behind the camera now, but
you
ordered-
played that guitar before I played it.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Probably for exactly 15 seconds.
Yeah, we were very protective of that one. I think we
Mhm.
pushed everyone to play the satin number 1 guitar, but it was but you ordered, like, that was before Paul was actually working with us, but you ordered the exact same specs pretty much as Ihsahn.
The difference is the pickup bobbins on mine are black and you have chrome.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the pull pieces.
Not the-
Yeah,
yeah,
the pull pieces. Oh,
That's it.
same pickups, because the pickups in that one are the BKP Aristides Customs, which is a set that Tim from BKP made for the first time. He made it for when we did a guitar for Javier from Animals as Leaders.
Mhm.
That was a regular 080. It was a couple months prior, and he made a custom set, and he based it of the Holy Diver in the bridge and the Emerald in the neck. Tweaked it for our guitars. He had an 070 there that they tried things with, and Tim felt this suited the guitar very well. And that it wasn't really intended to have our own pickup set, but it turned into a thing. So it became the Aristides Customs. We still put them in quite a lot of guitars these days.
They're amazing.
They were in
Just-
the guitars.
we were talking about the position 4 in particular.
Yeah,
With that setup and that guitar.
where you have the full bridge and the neck outer split together, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
called it the Tim Special.
Yeah, Tim, that's our Tim, not
Yeah.
Tim Mills from BKP, but Tim from Aristides. But he is, he came up with that when we initially figured out what's our standard 5-way wiring gonna be, and we to this day we still call it the Tim Special. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a cool.
Yeah, it's like you would never expect that tone from that guitar by looking at it. You know, it's just like
No, it's super cool.
Clean
Like the Aristides
tones, like-
Customs, but sometimes when people play extreme metal, they might lack some output in the bridge, but it's a super versatile set. It can do a lot. Well, you proved that.
yeah,
you know,
no, but it's
you have
I
them in
mean,
a
for
bunch of
me,
guitars.
it's for me that was like total game changer.
The 080S, you got that. How did you feel when you get that and you compared it to the 080? There were differences, multiscales, different pickups.
Yeah, I mean, but this was my first, ever experience with a multiscale.
Yeah.
And
How is that for people who never played a multi-scale? You've been playing like professional guitar for so long, and then the first time you got a multi-scale, how did it feel to you?
Yeah, it was, unbelievable in the sense that, I looking at it from the front, it's kind of mind-boggling after so many years with standard fretting.
Yeah.
But then, when you put it in your lap, from this angle, you really don't notice. And I just felt, this is just like, I could play the 8-string stuff, it felt like, but it's easier, obviously. But then, the the higher strings, it's just like a regular six string.
Yeah.
So transitioning and jumping ahead to when you actually sent me the 9-string Headless, blue.
Oh, yeah.
And that was also just as an example, because by that time I had been playing the multiscale for a long time and getting accustomed, but still a bit overwhelming with the 9 strings. But I actually tried it out. The same day I was going for a rehearsal, and I thought I'll try that out. With my experience with the other Aristides instrument, I'll just play my entire set with 6-string songs, 7-string songs, and 8-string songs on this guitar, just to see if I could do it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's all muscle memory, but the kind of the angles and the feel and everything is exactly the same. It's just the extra string, and I found that I could pretty easily perform all of my set on a 9-string the first time I really actually played a 9-string, and that's saying a lot.
That's
I think
saying
about
a lot, yeah.
So this was the starting
because that's
point.
good
of that.
to know about our fans. Like our first ever multi-scale guitar was the 080S, and we went with a 28 to 26.5-inch scale because we felt that was the sweet spot in terms of playing like natural to your hands. And after that, with every multi-scale we did, at least with the 7 and the 6, we kind of just went with, okay, how can we get the same feeling on a 7 and on a 6, and that's why the scale lengths aren't like rounded off on the 7 and the 6. You have the 25 to 26.1, I believe, and we have the 25.7 to 27 on the 070S, and that was just because that would make that the fan would be exactly like the 080S that we did, and we feel that is the sweet spot. Personal, I know, but we feel that that's the sweet spot. So that's why we did that, and it's you got the 080S, and I think that immediately became your
main
go-to.
For sure.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, of course, that left the original 080 a little bit in the background. But then, when arguably, I still brought it on tour because the guitar player, for example, for my 2018, I went on the European tour. He didn't own, his own 8-string.
Was it Ihsahn already?
No, this was Eirik Kroknes.
Oh, yeah.
I went for the European tour, and but he then played my original 80.
Yeah, exactly.
080. But then at that point I was already spoiled with the comfort of the
multi-scale for 8 strings. Yeah.
Absolutely. But still, I mean, arguably, they because of the different pickups and everything, they're Seymour Dunkers, and because of the longer scale lengths, it has a very different tone.
Yeah, I think it's 27 on the 080.
Yeah, so it's just like it's the string tension is feels tighter in a way, and there's something so for studio work, I still use that for for when you're doubling stuff up, it just gives it that the contrast you need.
The 080 isn't the most like probably like since the 080S and the H08 and now the STX8 S that we have. Sorry, it's a long name. Still need to get used to it. It's we have so many 8-string options for multiscale that the 080 we still make them, and people still order them. Not a lot. When we started doing Evertune for the first time, it became got a bounce back. Evertune on an Aristides 8-string. But then we did the multiscale Evertune, and now it doesn't really matter anymore. So you can get it on multiscale too. So it's it's a cool guitar. But the 080S, that's a legendary guitar to me because it was our first multiscale. It was the Chameleon. Just it's such a stunning guitar, and I think so many people inspired by yours, ordered that finish on an 8-string as well. Paul was one of them. After that, there were many more of the 8-strings. Yeah,
because the look of it, and but also the way you shape the headstock and everything. It just everything came together in an absolutely
they guys
beautiful.
did an amazing job on that. It's just
For me, I'm a sucker for like the on like super strat-ish body shape, but also with the what do you call it? Not everything on top, but
like the tuners on both sides.
Tuners on both sides, and just the way it's put up, with the 5 and 3. It's
It looks really pretty. Yeah,
it's just like amazing.
I have it here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's a cool headstock.
Yeah, so but that was like even more game changing. You know, like to get the and we can get into that. You know, the practical aspects of how, but you know, we've been talking this weekend about the practicalities of. One thing is the aesthetics of it, but and all the insane finishes that you guys can do. But just from a practical standpoint, for me, being so fortunate this is my living, you know, so I play these guitars and instruments every day, more or less, you know, in the studio or on tour, and you know, there are, you know, humidity and warm and cold and flights and in and out, and just for me to have instruments that I can trust to be so sturdy, so stable, and always perform. And you know, this sounds like a sales commercial, but
it does,
but honestly, this is I feel like such a salesman for Aristides. Every time I meet someone who like are curious, and I just go on.
Because talking about that, like you being a salesman for Aristides, I think we talked about this over dinner last night when you were saying that you always feel like, well, yeah, guitar for me, and why, you know, and I'm like, well, like you call it imposter syndrome, or
but I mean, I also know that you work with some really high profile.
No, but
artists.
that's my thing. Like, there's the amount of people that got introduced to Aristides outside from clients and people who told us, like, yeah, Ihsahn inspired me. I first saw it with Ihsahn, or and
it's
that inspired me.
To hear.
That's amazing. But also the amount of like artist friends that you introduced to Aristides, like, well, the Leprous guys, of course, Toro, because you seem to know them.
I'm
sort of tied to them, but anyway. No, but also our mutual friend now, Matt Heavey from Trivia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matt Heavey been using our guitars for a long time, and is a great friend of the company. But he got introduced to us by you. Same for Devin Townsend, who plays our TO now. Also, I think you locked him in a cabin on a cruise ship with your guitars and told him to not come out until he tried them all, or something like that.
Is that what he told you? No,
I think that's what I made of it.
It was backstage, and he got curious.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't have the TO. But
no, he didn't have it. We didn't have it yet. It was 2019. We introduced it at NAMM 2020 because I remember because that's
I remember because we were on this cruise, 70,000 tons of metal, and I had my guitars there, and you know, I was excited, you know, but this is just because, you know, Matt, he's a guitar player, Devin is a great guitar player, and we're nerds, you know, we share like, wow, that's good, you know, it's excitement about these things, and he was like, that's amazing, but like, you know, I've been looking for and he was asking about the different models, and but I'm like my old, you know, Telecaster, you know, it's like, you know, I'm not supposed to say, but I've heard rumors that they might have you know, something in that range coming.
We were working on it for NAMM 2020, and I remember
there were some typing done, and
and I remember when he I think NAMM was starting, and the first day was Devin was at the booth immediately to try it out. And he loved it. I think one of those tellies or a similar one went out to him to try out. He's been using them live, which is awesome. But again, thanks to you, like being
no, it's spreading the love, you know.
Spreading the love, and
black metal, you know, that's what we do.
Right? Black metal is all about spreading the love.
Should we get back to the chronological stuff
before
this turns into?
This is going to get out of hand real quickly and turn into a dinner conversation. We could do another video of one of those, but maybe
because now we get to then of course
the first ever custom.
We
full custom.
We by this point, you know, I was. Of course, already, but still, like this was the game changing.
Yeah, we still need to make you like a main 6-string.
Yeah, because the Auto has a shape. It was kind of I love that guitar, but you know, something that would be more in line with the stuff that I've been playing since I was 10, or like a main, you know. and of course I had, the 060, in mind. Of course,
Yeah.
that's been,
Yeah,
also an iconic, build for you.
Yeah, I think we should talk about the 060, and the good thing about the 060 is that we actually have it here. Paul told me to yell, Paul, I need the guitar. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna yell, Paul, I need the guitar right now. Thank you, Paul, for this guitar. We named this one the North,
The Norse. Yeah.
and the North.
And also we hashtagged it Feel the Fjords.
Yeah, because you can actually feel the fjords.
Eric did this illustration and engraved it. And I'm proud to say, I think, unless you change the policy, I'm the only one who have engraved.
Yeah, because I think we
Aristides.
lost Eric for 2 weeks just working on figuring this out. No, we did. I remember the test body.
Yeah.
Remember that? Is that with you, or do we still have that?
No,
you have the
you-
original drawing, right?
I have the original drawing, yeah. I have that to start.
Eric made it already. Because let's start from the beginning with this build. Yeah, we started bouncing off ideas, and I think you had some old maps and stuff like that.
This was in the period, I don't recall it, this was probably at least in the period where I was working on my Aristides album.
Yeah,
And I was for inspiration for that, I had all these old, tainted maps, with
Yeah.
pictures from Fridtjof Nansen going to one of his pole expeditions and everything. That's also, if anyone who's seen the Aristides album may recognize the color scheme.
Yep.
And I was kind of obsessive about, symbolism, with the northern hemisphere and,
Yeah.
and snow and ice and all these kinds of things and open landscapes. And I said, can we make something that looks like a map? And my original idea was just something simple, to have like some of the classic, direction stars,
Yeah.
at the back of this. And then Eric, I think,
Yeah,
just
the problem
suggested-
is you told it to Eric.
yeah, and he went overboard
Eric always goes overboard,
and
which
made this amazing illustration with the star, like this old classic, like you would see on maps,
But
but
that's-
also outlining of the Norwegian coast, and this part of, because he knew it was from all this part of the world, and just absolutely amazing. I was totally sold.
Yeah, it was. He went overboard indeed, which is what Eric does. Eric is our technical director. He's an industrial designer. That's what he went to school for. But he has been, running our production side of the company, technical side, together with Ferdinand for the last decade. Those guys are responsible for all the crazy designs that we do, all the beautiful guitar designs. And Eric is the kind of guy, if you give him something like this, he's gonna bite into it, and he's gonna spend nights and weekends just working on stuff like this to make sure that it reaches his own level of expectation.
There's a mild burst to this. And also for
All
if you
these
get
stains
there's
and-
like small stains, like
It's
to
crazy.
really create that.
And he did this all with a pencil.
Yeah.
I think it's just, and he engraved it in there. It's just, this was crazy work. We did this on old, like a failed body we made once, and we used those kind of body for paint tests and whatnot. And I remember he did that, and it was like, I was at a show, I don't know, I think it was Timo Somers was playing with Delane back then, and I had to go to the show to meet with Timo, and I was having dinner before, and it was already like 7, and I got like pictures from Eric, and I immediately forwarded them to you, like that kind of thing. We were constantly back and forth with the demo objects we were using to do it, and it came out incredible. And the coolest thing about when we got this one out to you, that was just, I think you were blown away, because
Totally.
we had to ship this one. We shipped this one to you.
Yeah.
And
And it just like immediately became my main.
Yeah.
For my shows with Emperor and with my solo shows, like totally for all 6-string stuff. And it's been
all around the world for a decade now.
Yeah, all around, and been my main all along. And it's like performed. It sounded. It's the bare knuckles, and but also I remember you put me in touch with Tim Mills, and it just like the privilege I felt like I was emailing with him, and like describing the kind of tones. I'm not an expert, and like I'm not any of these connoisseurs of pickups or anything, but I just try to explain what kind of sounds and what kind of dynamics I was after, what kind of attack and everything, and he kind of made notes, you know, and like we figured out that we talked about what kind of, you know, are we doing the black ones, are we doing the cream bags, or are we doing mixed, you know, like all these kind of, but just like cherry picking details.
Yeah, but I'm usually not a fan of zebra pickups in guitars, but in this one, because I probably said, when you said that, I was I'm not sure. But yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's like it's an iconic Aristides guitar to me. It's been it's been all over the world. It's
all over recordings
for the last decade, and super
absolutely.
proud. There's I think we did a cool playthrough with it too. A year after. Yeah. That's the next guitar we're going to talk about, because that's the one you were picking up at the shop then.
Mm.
But we did a cool playthrough of My Heart Is Up the North.
Yep.
And it's still on our YouTube channel. Along with also there's a video of the 080S Frozen Lakes on Mars, and that is awesome too with the 080S.
It is like, it's so much easier to play.
It looks really cool.
But this was you know, just another level also, and getting, you know, to play this, and it performs so well.
Yeah, it's such a
for
good
me.
build.
And it's only recently, I think, it has taken a little bit of a beating, as you know, for touring. But it's not bad. But still, for a decade, it's pretty good. Absolutely.
Like, and we just this kind of stuff is kind of like, we have it here now, so we can touch it up. We're gonna do that, so you can bang it up again. So that's gonna be fun. No, it's a beautiful instrument, but yeah, honestly, for playing it a decade, like you did, it still looks amazing. So the next one we're going to talk about is the 070 you have.
Yeah, and it kind of, that's a kind of like the 7-string twin.
I can't stop feeling the fjords.
It's feel the fjords.
I haven't seen this guitar in such a long time.
And I remember that I felt, you know, it felt so exclusive to have, because I already knew that you had all these crazy finishes, but to have that extra edge of actually having something engraved.
Yeah.
It got me a bit ambitious, I think.
Oh man, you just reminded, like the 070, that was a total, that was a thing.
Yeah, but I think you started it, but then you got me very ambitious.
Yeah,
and
but
so then I remember okay, so we got talking about, should we do a 7-string?
That was the logo, right? That was designed by
Maria Picasso.
Yeah,
who's been doing a lot of work. She's amazing.
We got the files, and we're like, well, we're gonna do that. But I remember Eric again spending nights and weekends figuring that out to get that in properly.
Because it was so much detail.
But the first, the time when we started talking about the build, the idea was Hannibal, right?
Yes,
the series.
Yeah, because But I wanted, you know, because I love this guitar so much, and I wanted like this, but in the 7-string, just like that be, but being such a huge fan of the aesthetics of the Hannibal show, and you know, in general, don't get me started. We'll be here for another hour, but basically, the color is taken from the Hannibal TV series, his office.
Like the Chesterfield kind of style.
Yeah, he has his Chesterfield, but that is a blue one. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, sorry.
But the walls are this red color. But I also love, I have a Chesterfield at home, and just like the feel that I don't have a red Chesterfield, I have a black one, but just like the aesthetic of like the oxblood Chesterfield.
Yeah.
In like the stained leather is something so exotic about it, and it just so reminded me of, and just like oxblood. It's like it's kind of like drained blood, so drawn again to the Hannibal series, the aesthetics and everything. And so yeah, I asked, can you made me a guitar like in oxblood leather?
And I was like, yeah, for sure. And then Eric had to figure it out.
Eric had to figure it out. But and also I had Maria make this this kind of symbol, let's not, but it's a lot of detail, and I wanted it behind this headstock, and
we put it under the bridge.
Under the bridge. Sorry, and it's the symmetrical thing, and it's also the one that I had on my backdrop for the touring afterwards. I actually have it engraved on my watch as well.
Indeed.
And so it's like it's a very small miniature and big, and also that guitar.
Yeah.
But again, engraved, and and also I wanted it to look like old, so it's the engraving is filled with like gold paint as well.
It's like a mixture. It was like, oh man, it was again.
I feel so bad now.
And just like when you get that kind of stuff to Eric, the amount of detail he's gonna be like frustrated about it. I'm like, dude, that looks great, and he's like, no, it's not. Like, and I'm just gonna spend an extra hour on it, and then before you know it, it's like 30 hours later, you know, and he have that making fun of, but it looks perfect though.
Yeah,
it looks
and
amazing.
that color, and then I remember even the details like the gold hardware, but we ended up actually with the mixed black and gold hardware, which also just came together amazingly.
That was guitar. The first time, like when you picked that one up, you picked it up from the shop because you were headlining Complexity Fest in Harlem.
Yeah, so we actually introduced that guitar on stage.
On stage, I remember you did that, and a lot of the team was in the crowd. That was super cool. We went to the shop, and you, it's still the old shop. So we went upstairs where the production rooms were, and the guitar was there, I think, and all the guys were there, and you got it, and you almost got emotional. You were so excited.
Totally.
Yeah,
and
it's
also
not very
like
black metal, but okay.
Yeah, but still, but I mean, with all of you, and all the people around it, who actually were part of building that, it's humbling, because it's such unique and just I think anybody who loves playing guitar and everything to have a custom guitar, and you have these ideas, and you like to see it come to fruition, and then pictures, and from the sketches to the ideas and everything, and then seeing it in real life. And this is I've been very fortunate to have that experience many times now, but it never gets old. It's seeing the pictures.
That one was in person with
people, and with people around it and everything.
Yeah.
But also every time, like, it's one thing is seeing the pictures, but like seeing things in real life. And I follow the Instagram and everything. I see all the new amazing finishes, but then coming to the factory and actually seeing some of these finishes real life, it's a whole different experience. Yeah, but that was very, very special.
That was a cool moment.
Yeah,
I think that
very
was
cool.
It was a busy weekend, because that was also the weekend we did.
We did the playthroughs. Yeah.
We did the playthroughs for.
Because I think I did the rhythm guitars for that playthrough also on the.
I'm thinking, was
the
that
Hannibal
the first
guitar.
time you were? It wasn't the first time you were at the shop, or was it?
I think. Because I was there twice. So I think I was there the one time before, visiting, and then.
Yeah, but the one time before we shot the video for the 080S, and with an 020 we did the video for the Emperor video.
Yeah, that's true, because I was also playing. I borrowed a black 020 as well. Yeah.
Yeah. We did that, so that was the first, and this time around we also did playthroughs, but we used we did My Heart Is of the North, and we did Until I Took Dissolve with the
that's true.
070.
Yeah,
that was back with Dave. We did that.
Yeah, that's true.
Did an amazing job with that. And the old factory, like the
it's
the
a
attic,
really
that
cool
was,
place.
Yeah, that was a cool place.
But not that's also like I have all my guitars up in my studio. Like pride and joy. But
it's so. Then we had the 070, and then we kind of fast forward in time. I think we did the next one. We did the multiscale
7-string.
Multiscale 7-string underside. That was your raw.
Yeah, so that was my first raw, and also like I was very excited to get with my experience with the multiscale to get that also with a 7-string was also amazing. And that's also one of those guitars that, even though it's a raw, but still for touring purposes and everything, I brought that everywhere.
Yeah.
And that also sounds amazing. You know, as I mean, the Hannibal one sounds like this, just in 7-string. So like
Yeah, because the Hannibal 7 also has the Aristides custom pickups.
yeah. It's absolutely amazing. But then the multiscale one, it has a different sound, and also like for touring.
What pickups did we do in that one? Lundgrens?
No, it's still bare knuckles, I think.
Was it Aftermath or something?
Yeah, I believe we tried something different.
It was an Aftermath set, I think.
And it was the first with the kind of see-through.
Yeah, with the see-through white body.
Yeah.
Zebra, right?
Yeah, zebra.
Zebra. Yeah,
Again.
I remember.
Against your better judgment.
No, yeah, that worked.
Yeah, I
it
think
worked
it's-
like it always. Zebra usually works. I'm usually just when I think about it on paper, and you're like thinking about a build with someone and they say Zebra, I'm always like, yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be distracting. But in some builds, like especially the Anthracite one as well, because that's such a pretty stealthy build, you know, with the black fretboard and pretty simple, and then you have the white black see-through black.
Gives it some contrast. Yeah.
And on this, the cream black is just with the gold is beautiful.
Classy.
But yeah, we had
and I
back
also
to-
I tend to I think apart from the 080S, which has a gloss finish.
Yeah.
I think all my guitars are satin,
Yeah.
because I do love the gloss finishes, but I'm horrible. You know, it's finger marks.
Yeah.
These are the satin finish is subtle, and it's just like
The
so
raw is even better.
and the raw, so it's so forgiving.
Yeah, it's super forgiving, and it's that's definitely the case. And
But another the raw, you know, another amazing, you know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I really do play them all, and like for different purposes, and like it's all in use, you know, like in daily. So that's
That's amazing. And then we have the.
What's-
I forgot about this, but you mentioned right before we started talking. I was like thinking of all the builds that we did, because again we didn't prep this because we're not really that professional.
No.
But you mentioned the birthday guitar, the gift.
Yeah. And this was there was something mechanical with one. I think it was this.
You needed a tuner or a switch.
Yes,
or
it was
something.
a stand-in, not my regular guitar tech, but like a one-off guitar tech. I think in Mexico or something. He said he didn't know what happened, but I think he dropped it, in a sense. So one of my tuners got broken.
Yeah.
So I asked. I wanted the same, you know, color and everything to make sure. So we talked about it. Said, I'll send you one.
Yeah.
And Dave, you sent me the. I got the package. I was expecting this tuner.
Yeah.
And it came with an original metal gold 010.
Out of my private 010 stock.
And you know, jaw-dropping experience, and I think I immediately got on the phone to you.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, but it's so, and I know that's the starting point, and it's still very important to me, because it was like a super surprise.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool to have, because I truly feel very part of, as you said, you were very kindly said that, like, it's a partner, you know, like I feel part of the crew in my little small way.
Yeah.
You know, and to be to have some, you know, something from the origins of the company.
I remember back then. I just wanted you to have that, and we were sending out a package anyway, so we might have well just make.
Yeah,
it
that's a pretty big
it-
surprise,
yeah.
you know, to have it.
And
By
it
the
just was-
way,
and I remember that phone call. That was super
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
You were completely over the moon. And,
that's amazing.
And we all at the shop loved it, and it was like one of the original.
And it's
one of
actually
the-
such it's a very special design, you know, like with
Yeah, it's
Indians
like
going
the
and-
concept car. I'm looking at one right now. Maybe
Yeah.
we can change guitars, Paul, now that we have that one.
Yeah, just to show if people are.
Just to show it. I'm sorry, Paul. The 010 is like the concept car. It's fun because actually today you quickly met we did the 010. That was before Eric and Ferdy were at the company, and we worked with we actually to design the 010. There was a designer involved, Frans van Rens Design, and he was responsible with his colleague Robert back then for the for the 010 concept. This one is beaten up. It's been toured heavily. I think it was used by the Faceless for recordings like 15 years ago. It's dusty too. I should clean it. I'm sorry.
I think also your Norwegian friend, you went to his wedding.
Magnus.
Magnus,
oh, yeah, no, he has his own. He has.
He has
his one.
because he has one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he plays the 010 a lot. He's a great guitar player, by the way.
Yeah.
He does this crazy lab thing as well. But he's the 010 is like, it's a concept. I see it as the concept card that led to what we make nowadays.
Yeah, for sure.
But actually, the funny thing is, today, coincidence, like I haven't spoken to the Franz in 12, 13, 14 years, and great guy. Anyway, the 010, so you have the gold medal 010.
Yeah, and you can still see, I mean, it's very different from the guitars that you have today, but you see the DNA.
Yeah.
It's like, this is like a grandpa.
Yeah, the headstock too.
The
headstock is definitely still like full
yeah.
on. Like
but you know, the indents and everything, especially on the bottom parts, is
but
still...
really meant to make this, like this, production hell. Production hell.
Yeah.
Guitar.
I can imagine.
And spec-wise, like the pickups were already in the mold, so they were you can only do the vintage Strem bridge, the Wilkinson or the hip shot. HSS. If we wanted to do a double humbucker, we had to do crazy Frankenstein modification. Those weren't the best decisions ever back then, but it was a start. We probably should have done things differently looking back, and it would have been easier. But this is the concept. This is the concept. It's a great guitar. They sound well.
Yeah, it sound amazing.
It sounds amazing. Super full. It's a bit heavier.
Yeah, and also actually the trem is like, in my opinion, like vintagey. You know, you can absolutely do that.
The look
thing.
of the guitar doesn't really. It's super fast and modern and whatnot. And pretty vintagey spec in a lot of ways. It's really cool to have one of those in your collection. And after that, keep things moving. After that, we did the T, right? Yeah.
The TO, the guitar it is based off of, in a sense, or inspired by, I would say, is of course very iconic. And I remember when you told me about this, and we started talking about making, making me one of those models. I was thinking immediately to, spec it like a vintage, with a very vintage setup, very classic setup. And then you started sending me pictures of prototypes and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, literally, this is going to be far too cool to keep for, single coil setups and everything. This is going to be a guitar that I'm going to play a lot, and bring on tour. So I need,
and
let's do this
with Evertune.
Yeah.
Because back then we didn't do Evertune on other guitars.
Yeah. So this was like an opportunity to get the Evertune that I didn't try before either. I was very excited. It's like, okay, it's like a classic design in many ways, but still, totally modern. I tried the Fishman.
We have the Fishman classics in here, right?
Yeah. And with the Evertune, and it's amazing.
Again, I haven't seen this one since it left.
Yeah, it's a beautiful finish, and
got some dings in the back. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'll blame my.
But this is this is funny. This is your main guitar with Emperor, right?
That's been for because I made some changes up, and with the Evertune, it's super practical as well, and it just sounds and plays amazing, and it's also the contrast. I mean, I play in a rather old school, black metal band, and
this is not what people would call black metal, right?
No, that's not necessarily, and arguably because I love great guitar playing and innovation. Obviously, I'm a huge Prince fan.
Of course, yeah.
And so this it's kind of a small personal tribute to what I associate with his aesthetic, in a sense, in color and everything. I love this color scheme. I actually love a lot of the brighter colors because I always wear black.
Yeah.
This pops. But we skipped one guitar, so that we have to go back a little bit afterwards. Speaking of that, but amazing guitar. It's it has a very special tone, and also because
you got it.
Yeah. Let's without getting into the copyright treble, this on the back.
Is that copyright trouble?
No, but so,
Oh, we forgot one.
yeah. So,
That's
but-
going to be copyright probably.
No, probably not. But this is the crest of Telemark, which is the county that I come from. We always introduce the emperor shows like from Telemark, Norway.
Yeah.
So it's a thing, and so I jokingly call this my Telemark caster.
Yeah.
No, but I love this. It's
Block inlays too.
block inlays. I knew that would make extra. You didn't do much block inlays at the time. I think.
No, we do them, but it's still for us. It's not a standard thing, so it's always a bit of a
But I think it just looks amazing with the.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for the lilac. I love that finish.
It's
pearl in it on the finish.
Real life. It's just like an insane color.
It's
I love that. And it's also very, in stage light and everything, it really reflects, different lights in a beautiful way.
It's a super cool guitar, yeah.
But I was just associating with because I was talking about all the bright colors.
Yeah.
But in between here.
We forgot about a guitar, yeah.
Yeah, and we did the 060 with 3 single coils. They're the Cobras.
Because you were looking for something with 3 single coils.
Yeah, like more of a traditional, standard Strat setup. But
we put
also
the fixed bridge on there, right? Or
no, it's
a trem.
It's a trem.
Hip shot trem. Yeah.
Hip shot trem.
Sorry, yeah.
So to get to be able to do, because I remember I was working on a record that I had this idea of having more of that single coily sounds on some parts and be able to do that light tremolo stuff, not the whammy bar thing, but more. So we talked about that, but then it was probably my most what can I say, lightweight spec in terms of pickups and everything.
Yeah.
So it was jokingly the idea of okay, let's make it the most evil guitar.
And it was evil.
Yeah, and of course I made it difficult for the guys at the shop again because I like the satin finishes, but black is black, and I'm a huge fan of the original The Omen movies. I wanted the Omen O with a 666 in there, but it's hard to get on black. So I had this. I think I sent you pictures of cars.
Yeah, that had gloss on satin.
Gloss on satin. So literally, I think you could pull off the pictures, but it has
We only have
behind the
crappy
bridge.
iPhone pics of that one for
Yeah.
some reason, but
But behind the bridge, there's the Omen O, which is 666. The birthmark thing. For those who know the films, also some of my favorite soundtracks ever from Jerry Goldsmith, and a satin stripe, like
through the middle, which was
no, it's this satin sides,
satin sides, and then the gloss stripe.
gloss stripes,
Yeah.
but then a satin emblem. So it's like almost,
It was party time.
yeah. And instead of 060, of course, it's the 666.
Yeah. Of
On
course,
the 12th
it's a six. We call it the 666
Yeah.
guitar. Yeah, it's that one is evil. That
Absolutely.
was really good.
And
next time you come out to the shop, we should probably bring that one out.
Yeah,
for a
absolutely,
playthrough
because it's a
and pictures by
beautiful
Paul.
guitar,
That'd be sick.
and actually this is that's also been quite much around the world. We travel quite light sometimes, and I have this Quantum Industries triple case, and especially for the Emperor's set, we have a really it's 6-string guitars in standard tuning. So basically, to just make things easy, I bring Samot's guitar, my colleague in Emperor, in the triple case, and I have my main, which has been the Norse, and now this.
Yeah.
And then I've always brought the 666, the Omen one, as a spare.
Yeah.
For both me and him,
Yeah.
because he has he's working with ESP. He always plays his Eclipse, but he also have one of this super Strat styles. So he knows familiar with both shapes. So it's like he tried it out and he really likes it. But it never really gets much stage time because
Doesn't break down.
It doesn't break down.
Maybe one day you'll forget to charge the Fishman.
Yeah, that would be an opportunity.
That'd be an
Yeah, but
opportunity.
it has happened, and I have to definitely pay. But it's been unfortunately somewhat anonymously.
Yeah, but
around
that's
the
also
world.
our fault because we like. I remember when we finished it, there was some sort of rush, I think, and we just took some quick iPhone. But we didn't have a photographer back then, and we just took iPhone pictures for Instagram, whatever. It
Yeah.
was just super simple.
But it's a beautiful guitar.
Yeah, it's a beautiful guitar, and we should definitely showcase it.
Absolutely.
In the future because
It
it is
deserves
so
it.
cool.
It's absolutely
another
special.
unique thing we
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
do afterwards, you know, and it's really cool.
And it's with these things, it's probably like I've been asking you for many times. I'm a sucker for a binding.
That's
Which
the
also
last guitar.
yeah. But,
the binding
we-
would have looked sick on this one too, by the way.
In the meantime, also you did the prototype for the 09 OS.
Didn't we get you the H06 before that, or was the 90 for the Headless?
Yeah,
6?
you.
We did the Headless 6. That one is beautiful. We did the Mint Green Pro
Yeah.
on it with the Lundgrens.
With Lundgrens, yeah, my first with that. Yeah, that was my first with Lundgrens.
Yeah, did we went with the M or the Black Heavens? I don't remember.
I think it's the Black Heavens.
Yeah,
I do think so.
Or did we do the first one with the M's and we did the Black Heavens on the H08 later?
Oh yeah, that's that.
it was the
yeah,
M
yeah.
series
Okay,
on
I'm seeing
Yeah,
the
sorry.
yellow papers now with the specs in my head, but I'm mixing it up.
I could have checked these
Yeah.
before the video.
I should have known, as well.
Doesn't matter. The
Yeah,
Lundgren sound
But
great. so-
speaking of the H6,
Yep.
it's because that's what we this is conceptual. This is the stuff that of course no one will know or notice, because the association is so vague.
Yeah.
But again, in my head, because I was returning to these same inspirations, so for me, the HO is related to the Oxblood Hannibal guitar original, because if you see the couch in Hannibal's office, it is that mint color. So I remember I was taking, finding pictures, on Google and like trying to figure out the color coding from that couch, but by picking out like color picking and Photoshop and all that kind of stuff to get. So and for those who know the series, there's a lot of antlers going on, and so I wish we had it here, but I didn't have room in the case. But again, Maria Picasso, who did the original symbol for the Oxblood one,
Yep.
I asked her again to make me a stag with antlers inlay, and she did this beautiful, and and she custom made it for specs of the neck, so it's a headless guitar, but it has a head on it, and a stag head.
Yeah.
So a beautiful inlay, and in my mind, and conceptual idea is like these two complement the colors, the main colors of Hannibal Lecter's office in the TV series, which I think is amazingly cool. So every time I see them side by side, it's just like,
And I remember that was the first time you got the Headless, and
Yeah.
you were like, it immediately inspired you, right? You
Yeah.
had
I mean,
Drop
but
C, and you've been going crazy.
drop C. And I remember I asked you to set it up, send it from the factory in that tuning, and with that setup with the bits with an 11 to 56 set, because I was working on this album, which and this is a practical aspect as well. I never really, of course, you could get that range with the 7-string, or like I did. A lot of Aristides as well, with the drop A 7-string things, and this last album is a very orchestral album, and obviously there's a lot of strings, but cello parts is in the same range, and so doing a drop C tuning, because the orchestral like the string instruments are tuned in fifths.
Mhm.
You know, so with a drop C tuning, you will actually get the same tuning as the cello for the lowest two strings. You know, so in fifths. So C, G. You know, so and that makes it. You know, when I was writing stuff for cello, it was so, and vice versa. You're in the same. You know, I knew that it would be playable. You know, so it made sense that you can get the full range of the cellos and like utilize that in using that tuning.
Yeah, because you use that guitar for pretty much the entire album.
Yeah. There's one 8-string song, but the rest is all
H06.
Yeps.
Yeah, you did some sick. That's why we didn't bring it, because you did some crazy, beautiful playthroughs with that.
I did 3 playthroughs
in
videos
London,
for
right?
in London for that. Yeah. Beautiful guitar, sounds absolutely amazing. That was like mind blowing because it's so light,
So small,
so comfortable. The neck and that like the multiscale on that as well.
Yeah.
That was my first 6-string with a multiscale.
That's the great thing about the Arium, like the construction. It's so resonant that even when you take a lot of material out, like on the Headless guitar, which is very lightweight,
It's almost it defies physics because it's
works,
so light and it still sounds like a full-bodied
guitar,
like big guitar. And with the Lundgrens, I think that is a perfect match. For that
works really well,
shape.
That's just a beautiful guitar, and it reminds me of this one too, because you also have the satin pro finish, and it's just an absolute beauty. And then you have one of the H09 prototypes, because I remember we made 2. We made a red and a blue one. One of them went to Mike from Spirit Box, and Mike recorded rotoscope with it from their EP. He used that for that song, and the other one went to you. And you got the blue one.
Yeah, the petroleum.
And you immediately started playing around with it, right?
Yeah. And I ended up making actually a small, like a small demo song almost that I did a small video
we
for.
posted it on our YouTube channel, I think.
Yeah. And I did it on social media.
Yeah.
But it was because I mean an 8, you know, it's still very low, and it was very daunting. You know, with such a big guitar. But I mentioned earlier, I think that I actually tried it out at rehearsals, playing all my songs on that guitar, but also to the fascination that it's such a low tuning that I could play fingerstyle, like bass parts.
Yeah.
So there's no bass on that demo. It's just like drums and playing all the the bass parts and the lead parts and everything. It's like this insane range.
But you have a lot of fun with that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I mean, for more, it would be fascinating to write songs with it, because it just, my fascination with 8 strings in the first place, it's so low in the bass register that you could actually start treating bass lines for the bass in a different ways, because you can't just be octave dipping everything. So you just have to change things up, and even more so with a 9-string. And it's just like, but of course it doesn't sound like a bass because it sounds like a guitar, so it's an entirely different song. But just for practical purposes, I think I told you straight away, I love this, but I will probably not write like album style material, like for sound design. Like don't want to punish myself to having to bring even more guitars, for especially for playing my solo shows with a 6 and 7 string, and now also the drop C thing, and like it's all different guitars, and so it's a practical aspect to that. But
I get that.
But for having a 9-string, that's not just like a fixated idea, but actually a really ergonomically nice instrument to play, and to be playing with that range. No, but absolutely.
And then you love the Headless guitar. So then you talked about, like, because your 6-string is a fixed bridge.
Yeah.
And an 8-string multiscale with a trem.
I was watching Paul's video with the
yellow one. Yeah, that one is sick.
And demoing like an 8-string multiscale with a floating trem. That's just
Paul did that video with the yellow prototype. A lot of people love that video. 2020,
something like that.
2020, yeah.
And I saw that, and like that, you were going through all the positions and everything. It's like, nah, is it even
Paul
possible?
so much we stole him from Canada and now
Yeah.
he's here. But that was a cool video.
Yeah.
Inspired a lot of people to get, because we were like 8-string multiscale trem, like
Yeah, yeah.
like what, and that video inspired a lot of people. I know that, and it works like a dream. Like on the
The way it keeps the tuning, and I already love the sound of the multiscale, and with Lundgrens and everything.
Should we get that guitar?
I think we should,
Because we have it here.
This one, I mean, just look at it. But again, this kind of goes almost all the way back again in my conceptual world, because I do love my Norse guitar, and I'm fascinating with that. But it's this light, the map thing. It's old and everything, and I wanted to have something that was, again, like my Hannibal guitars are connected. And this is just by my personal association, and by association you've been forced to know about these conceptual ideas. But to me, this is related to the Norse guitar, because this is the night that I think our personal title for this is Arctic Night.
Yeah, I think so.
That was my vision. So literally I sent Pascal a picture of
snow at night,
of a Norwegian mountain at night with a full moon, with a dark sky, and the sea hitting the shore, and like the foaming on the shore where it hit. So I said, can you make a finish that looks like snow on the mountain at night and meeting the sea? So if we...
I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
Okay,
you need a close-up of this ball. So here we have the mountain snow. If we could probably share the picture that I sent you.
Yeah, I still have it on my phone somewhere.
And on the back side, it's the marble. We have the dark night sea.
We went with the blue marble and we made it darker.
And
I think.
finally, I convinced you to do the binding, and you have the white where the sea foam hits the shore.
We have the white where the sea foam hits the shore. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And to top it all off,
glowing inlays.
Glowing in, I love the lumen inlays, for dots. But we also, we should also show that you sent me videos where the fretboard was only finished, and you took it into a dark space.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. This moon, because it was a moon in the picture, and this is a lumen lay blue moon that lights up when it gets dark, together with the inlay, the dots on top here
to shine the moonlight on the snow.
And it shines on the snow, and it's just like insane. And
It's
with 8-string totally floating trem.
Black Heaven Lundgrens.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a cool concept. Like I told you earlier today, whenever we get people who send us pictures of crazy graphics and whatnot, we know what to do. It's going to be a lot of work, but we know what to do. But when you get a conceptual idea, it's always a lot trickier, and it was a lot of fun actually figuring this out together.
But it's so cool, like sending test plates of the paint and everything for back plates to get this and see this snow at night color come, and again it was like, it's become like this. I said, like, when I get one of the packages from Holland, it's like a family gathering, like, get around kids, we're going to open. But to see that you send pictures with everything, to get it in my hands, and the aesthetics of the finish, I absolutely love it. I know you make all these insanely crazy finishes, and I'm not that much of rainbows and sparkle and all that. So I think the designs that we've come up with together are generally subtle in one way, but probably more complex. Like, so I feel bad because there's so much extra work that goes into it, like coming up with custom finishes, like the ox blood
Yeah.
leather and snow at night. It's not easy.
We made fun of Eric's like level of detail and precision, but I know he walked into the room, so I'm going to be very careful with what I say now.
No, but I genuinely, I get so excited because I know it's doable, or at least I hope. I have this idea in my head, and then the privilege to ask, to actually someone else can you make this? And you guys always come through, and just look at the pickups. This is also with the see-through
white,
bobbins, which also like gives
for
it
the
this
multiscale
kind of glow.
bobbins. We have to make them ourselves. Just to explain that we want our perfect angle for the pickups, so we make our own bobbins. We have them made here in Holland, see-through white and matte black. That's the only way we can get them, and then Bernacle and Lundgren make custom base plates in that angle as well. That's something that is, again, a lot of work. We send them the bobbins and they use them on the custom base plates, send them back. But it leads to perfection. Yeah, and that's absolutely what we strive for.
No, I love this, and I'm in the beginning phases of working out new music, and I think I haven't made that. There's only one 8-string song on that album.
Yeah,
I have a hunch that there might be more coming from next.
I think a lot of people will be excited for that. So
I don't know about that, but I'm excited for it.
Awesome. Well, this is like for now, like we're 2025, so the guitars we made together in the past decade.
And I would like to, on camera, again, in person I've said, but again, officially, thank you so much for letting me be part of this journey and to play these instruments. Honestly, it's an absolute dream. I'm so proud to be playing these instruments and so privileged, and it gives me so much confidence in this is a layer of what I do that is super important for doing what I do with confidence, and like having to trust in these also tools for my work. And it's something that I do not take for granted, and I always try to convince you, let you know that I truly appreciate this so deeply, and I'm very, very thankful to you and the entire team, and you're an absolutely lovely bunch. And I
thank you. We try now, and it's thank you for that. That means a lot to everyone at the shop. Like, do you have you like today and yesterday for you to be there, and like you said, we had playthroughs planned, but you and Paul, you got it done in an hour and a half, and half an hour of that was you talking to Ferdy. So you kind of did like all the work we had planned for 2 days. Well, we had still had this planned, but you did it in an hour. So the rest of the time you just spent playing new models.
Yeah,
the STX and the baritone.
I love the STX and the baritone. My first like real play of a baritone in the first place. But again, we talked about this, like the perfect transition for someone going from a 6 regulars tuning to do something heavier.
Range,
but it's so tight. It sounded amazing.
But yeah, you were playing those. You were playing a new bass, but most of the time you were just walking around and talking to everyone and ending up in kind of like
strange conversations.
No, but you were
and looking at finishes that I only seen online.
But talking to the entire team, and I would walk around to check something because I was working most of the time, and I see you talking to another guy about like whatever, and it's just.
Everybody has to work overtime on Monday because I kept everybody from their work.
We get the whip out again on Monday. No, we don't. It was but that was so much fun because again we've been working together for 10 years. For 10 years, you've been like a part of the team, part of the crew.
It's very generous of you to say, but
and really, from the beginning when we started working together. There's a really annoying noise outside right now, breaking up my emotional speech. But, it's
that's the whiskey talking.
That's the whiskey talking. No, we've been working together for such a long time, and you've helped us so much by supporting the brand, playing the brand, telling your friends about our guitars, and not in a way because you commercial incentive, but like from the beginning, I had the feeling you truly had the passion and love for our instruments, and
but
it's been a great thing from the start. And
but I think it's just like passing on. I mean, like the first time when Mark Holcomb also introduced the two of us,
yeah,
it was based on that like pure excitement from his part.
Yeah.
You know, like this is something entirely new. This is like insanely good.
Yeah.
You know, you should really try this because it's like if you find new food that is like you never had anything like that before, and you want to recommend it to people you know who appreciate that kind of stuff. So it's truly like a path of passion. You know, like and so it's no pretense and no hidden agendas or anything. It's just like, yeah, this is amazing. This is what I mean, all off camera, on camera, wherever. I mean, we talk about this with Paul. You know, Paul and me, we've been talking about, you know, our experience with the instruments over the years. You know, it's and everywhere. You know, we talk to Timo sometimes, and you know, like I did this podcast with Devin, and we talked about, you know, this, and we talked about your shoes and.
Very colorful.
No, but I think one of his builds were inspired by a shoe that he had.
Devin, like when he sorry, this is really
conceptual stories.
Everyone who's still with us, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, we need to stop.
Yeah,
but Devin sent pictures of things that he sees in daily life, and he said, "What about this for a finish?" He did it all the time. Anyway, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, and we will continue our journey.
I do hope so. I do.
How did we do with the 30-minute video?
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes, right?
How long is it?
About an hour and 45.
Kept it under 2.
Yeah.
Kept it under 2.
Kept it under 2.
Yay.
That's better than we usually do when we talk over the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
We're progressing.
We're getting there.
We're
10
becoming
years, we'll have
efficient. Very efficient.
video. Okay, we'll shut up now, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here. If you have any questions about Ihsahn's guitars, about Aristides' guitars, Devin Townsend's shoes, let us know in the comments, and we'll try to respond. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Ihsahn, for taking your time to do this. And maybe we'll do more videos like this with other people, or more with Ihsahn about other subjects. That could be a thing too.
With this length, I doubt it. The algorithms might be fighting us on this.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for watching, and see you all next time. Cheers.
Thank you.